Hello everyone, Shane Anderson here from the Pike Group and Royal LePage Atlantic. I am here with Dawn Marie Penny from WCL Bauld. She's an insurance broker with them. And we're just going to spend a few moments and just talk quickly about what it is insurance brokers do. For first-time home buyers, whether you're buying a home for the first time, maybe this is your 10th home. And then we'll also talk briefly about selling your home and what's involved in regards to that for insurance, what they look for, certain questions you might want to ask them. So thanks, Dawn Marie, for joining us today. So
you're welcome.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, starting with buying a home, first-time buyers or new buyers to you, I would first of all suggest making sure that the house is insurable. Some of the big items that insurance companies look for would be the roof, if it's less than 20 years old. If it's over, usually an inspection would be due to see the lifespan of what's left on the shingles. And electrical services are a huge issue. Anything less than 100 amp service is that would be a hard house to insure. A 60 amp service is generally overloaded and can cause the fires. There's often a short-term solution available with a 60 amp service. You could have an upgrade allowance of maybe 90 days. And that's something we would work with the client on, setting up an electrician and getting, the purchase of the house could go through with some quick fixes upon closing. But 100 amp service with the breaker panel is what they're looking for. And one of the big key items is to see, if you're buying a house, ask the questions: how old, when was the roof last replaced, when was the upgrade on the electrical panel done, if they know, if the house is older. If it's new, it's not an issue. Also the plumbing, is it mainly copper, PVC, PEX, whatnot, and when was the last upgrade done. And also a furnace. If you have an oil tank and a furnace, they're really keen on how old is the oil tank. If it's indoors or outdoors, fiberglass. Most companies now, they want the double-bottomed oil tank. It's almost a must. And if it's outdoors, usually less than 10 years old. So that can be an issue that could stop an insurance transaction from happening. But again, an easy fix that you could do before the closing or shortly after.
Right. Excellent.
Yeah.
So you mentioned saving extra money. So are there discounts available? Like, say I have a security system in my home, or I have extra fire extinguishers. I've gone a little extra and done things. Are the discounts available for homeowners?
Definitely. An alarm discount can range between 10 and 15%. If it's a monitored alarm for fire and police, it's great to have anyway, but on the average house insurance policy, that may save around $150, sometimes more if your premium's higher.
Right.
If you're a first-time buyer, you've never had house insurance before, even a tenant's insurance policy would, after a 3-year period of time without a claim, would give you the claims-free discount. They see that as a big one. And often now, companies will give a discount on having the backwater valve. If you've had a roof update, some of the companies are giving discounts for newer updated items, tankless hot water heaters. They're throwing in a lot of these prevention discounts now to credit the more precautionary clients, I guess you'd call it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Definitely.
Swimming pools. I got a client that's looking to buy a home and they want a swimming pool. So what are some extra concerns, liability concerns in regards to buying a home with a swimming pool?
Definitely. Swimming pools are something you would want to let your insurance broker know about, because an above ground pool after winter like we had last year, collapsing was a big, from the weight of ice and snow, was a big issue. There are several companies that will not cover collapse of an above ground pool from the weight of ice and snow. So you would want to ask your broker if you have that type of pool, is that covered? I believe within HRM you have to have the gated locked fence to get into the pool area. I know outside of the city, if it's not within the bylaws, it's unbelievable to see a pool without a fenced in. safety so that children couldn't jump in, because liability is part of your homeowner's insurance. And if somebody did make it into your property and got into the pool and drowned, it is an extension of your house insurance. However, most companies do want to see the fenced in area with the locked gate. And it is included in the value of rebuilding your home in an insurance policy. So if your house, to rebuild it in the event of a fire, was $300,000, we would tack on another $30,000 for the pool and decking that may be around it.
Awesome.
Something good to mention if you buy a house and then put a pool on later.
Mm-hmm.
Add that to the value of the home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you mentioned deductible. So would you recommend somebody having a higher deductible to get a lower, or would you recommend a lower deductible? What's the benefits of having a higher deductible versus a lower deductible?
That's a good question. Generally now with most of my clients, I would automatically on a house policy put $1,000 deductible. With almost every company we deal with, that generates up to a 20% discount. And if you are a first-time home buyer, a lot of times they do want to see the higher deductible. 500 is generally the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
I would say only about 20% of our clients would have a low deductible on a house policy like that. Making a small claim will later on kind of hinder our ability to remarket you on a renewal, so like I would again be give good advice whether or not to put a small claim through, if it's something you could, having that bit of a higher deductible, would save you the money in the long run for sure.
So all right, so I have a client that's overseas. They're looking to move back. They are a Canadian citizen, and they're looking to move back and purchase a home here in Canada. They were inquiring about a property that's vacant.
Okay.
And they were, of course, asking questions about how long it's been vacant. What are some concerns in regards to purchasing a vacant home?
Well, often it's a bit of work getting a policy for a vacant home, but I have many times come across situations buying and selling. A client lives in Ontario. Mm-hmm. Their son lives here. They want to retire and move to Nova Scotia, and they're waiting for their house to sell in Ontario, but they've already bought a house here. Let's use that as an example. Mm-hmm. So the home here could be vacant from the closing date for 3 to 6 months. It's doable. Mm-hmm. A lot of insurance companies do not like vacant homes. They're prone to vandalism, arson, oil tank lines being cut, just a whole bundle of things that can go wrong. So what we've been able to offer is basic fire policy. It's a basic fire insurance policy. It's based on the actual cash value of the home, not a full replacement cost. It would not allow for pollution for oil tank spills or sewer backup. Also, if the pipes froze because the heat was not maintained, that water damage claim would be declined for sure, not covered. But so with one of those policies for a vacant home, there's a short-term period, kind of expensive, higher deductible, but available because a lot of times you do have to have the house insured. And what you would want for that is somebody to check on that house every couple days. If you had someone that you could rely on, a neighbor, a friend, just to make sure that things are okay, because where they are vacant, that's, and it's almost a requirement from the insurance company. And so those are available. And also going the other way, like you've just been transferred. Your job now, you've got to move to Montreal. Your house is up for sale, but you had to leave for the job and you're moving, out of town. Could take you 6 months to sell that house. Same thing, we could, do a policy for a seller that's, having that same situation in the reverse. And again, they would have to have somebody looking in on the house and making sure, a lot of times if you drain the pipes, turn the water off,
winterize it,
you're not going to worry if the pipes freeze and burst, because that's a huge mess and not covered, Now
you just touched on something. Let's say every year I go down south and I spend weeks, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever down south. What is required of me as a homeowner to be compliant with my insurance?
Good question, and really good question for this time of year. And we have, in our office, we have a constant contact method. We send email blasts to clients around certain times of the year to let them know that if you are going on vacation, if you're leaving for more than, I believe it's 4 days during the regular heating season, we recommend you have somebody physically go in the house and check on it every 24 hours, because where we're a broker, we deal with 6 or 7 companies. They all have a slight difference in the amount of time that a person would have to visit the home. On general, the 24 hours is all around the safe, so once a day, a friend or neighbor pop in, the heat's on, nothing's, broken into or damaged, and if something happened and you've filled that promise, then you're not going to have any issues.
All right, so let's move on to sellers. I have a client now that has KITEC, and that is the buzzword. It's been a buzzword now for quite some time. People see KITEC, see the word KITEC, and everybody's up in arms and everybody's in this big panic. What do we do? What do we do? So, what would be your advice for my client who has KITEC?
Well, I've been in the business since '99, and it was a non-issue for many years, and it was used widely in the early 2000s. Actually, from what I've recently kind of found out, about mid-90s to mid-2000s, it's not available anymore. It was what a lot of plumbers used, and many homeowners wouldn't even know they had it. They would see it as plastic pipe. They wouldn't know the brand name. In the past few years, there's been an issue because of, mostly in the U.S., there were a lot of claims with the joints of the plumbing failing, and a lot of it was due to hot water temperatures being too high, breaking it down, and anyways, it became a red flag for the insurance companies, and virtually impossible to get a policy for somebody unless they were willing to have the plumbing removed and updated. Since then, they've educated themselves a little more. It's becoming a little more flexible in being able to find a policy, but they are doing certain tests, and where the plumbing's installed. If it's in floor and continuous without joint, they're taking a better look at before they say no.
Yeah.
But often it can be an issue, and I guess again, call around, make some calls. Some people will insure a home with the KITEC plumbing if it meets a plumber's approval and they have a letter to state so. Or, in the odd case, it can cause barriers. So.
But I guess getting a professional to come in and do an inspection to really identify it would probably be the best piece of advice.
That's where they're giving a bit of leeway. If a plumber is willing to go on record and say that it's, not it hasn't disintegrated or corroded, and it's still in good, and often they'll cut through the pipe and take a visual, we've seen that done before. And, if it seems that it's in good shape, consideration would be given. And I'm hoping that it kind of blows over in time. It was certain things like oil tanks, that it goes through spells this way, and they change as time goes on. But one good sideline from this is, if you're buying a property, make sure there hasn't been an oil spill on that property. It's supposed to be disclosed in the agreement, but if you purchase a piece of land that has had an oil, you assume liability, and that's one thing. On older homes, there used to be buried oil tanks, and I've seen people have
advice.
That's one thing I would look out for is has there ever been an oil spill on the property?
That's something you think about all the time.
No, and you do you assume the liability of that property even from a prior
very expensive repair. You get environment involved, and
really hard to resell a house once that's happened. I mean, people aren't, I mean, unless you worked in the insurance world, oil tanks are not, a big issue, but I see all the time. I've had clients that have had oil spills, 1/8 of a tank, on a newer tank even, like just a fluke, and it's $185,000 in cleanup. They had to house the 4 neighboring houses in hotels for 2 weeks. The smell was just unbearable, and it puts a lot of oil tanks are a big thing, and with insurance companies, I mean the spills are astronomical to clean up. More often, more expensive than the house if it burnt down. The cleanup costs, and that's a big one I'd look for if I a lot of homes now have the heat pump, and that's good news to an insurance broker because I mean the oil tank issue is probably one of the bigger ones out there. Yeah.
Great advice. Well, fantastic, Dawn Marie. I appreciate your time today.
No
so,
problem.
if somebody wanted to reach out to you and have any questions, how can they do so?
I work at the Larry UTEC office for WCL Bauld. Our number there is 832-6767, and we're a family-owned company. My boss has owned the business since 1975, but the original owner was 1947. And we're well established in the local community, and we'd love to help you out.
Our website.
Hi, www.WCLBauld.com. I've never used it.
It's there. It's there.
We're
anyway.
easy to find, that's for sure.
Perfect. Perfect. Once again, thank you, Dawn Marie, for joining me today. And if you'd like to get a hold of me anytime, 902-471-9600. My email is shane@shaneshomes.ca. Thanks for joining me today. Hopefully you guys picked up some kind of information, whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell your home. Hopefully you picked up some information in today's video. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. See ya.